Higher power for another day clean, another chance at recovery for you people in this program, and Camp Mac for having us, because man, this is my sanity keeper here at Camp Mac. You know, I just love this place. What is the Narcotics Anonymous program? You know, in our book, I mean, it definitely lays it out right in the reading, where it's a fellowship or a society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. And, you know, I'm like everybody else that's around here. Drugs became a major problem in my life. And the program, that's the common bond for us all, you know, and why we're all here is because of that. And we're all recovering from a whole lot of other things, but what the Narcotics Anonymous program is to me, like I say, is the drugs are the common bond that we have. You know, when I first came up in Narcotics Anonymous, I had no clue what to expect. I didn't know what NA was. I didn't know what a 12-step program was. I didn't know anything about recovery. I didn't even know I wanted to stay clean. I just knew that drugs had become a major problem in my life. And I knew that I never felt like I fit in anywhere. And, you know, whether it was at my house, I was a black sheep in my family. I never fit in society as a whole. I was always a rebellious person, you know. And when I first came up in Narcotics Anonymous, it's like, wow, you know, I fit in here. I fit in this, you know, in these meetings, in with these people, you know, because we share that common bond. And being that it is a fellowship of people who have that common bond, you know, I keep telling people, and especially newcomers, that we have 1 million friends in the world that we don't even know yet, you know, because we can go to meetings in different states, different countries, and we find that we're all the same, you know, and yes, we all are different, but we have that common bond that we can start from. See, I had to take notes because otherwise I'd go off on tangents. Even though I know what the Narcotics Anonymous program is, being that it's a Narcotics Anonymous program, you know, they tell us in the basic text that the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. And again, when I came up in the Narcotics Anonymous program, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't even know if I really wanted to stop using. I just knew I needed something different in my life. And I didn't even know if I had an honest desire, a sincere desire. I didn't even know I had a desire to really quit using drugs. And when I read that the only requirement is a desire to stop using, I knew that just for today I wanted to stop using drugs. And I knew once I read Who's an Addict and What's the Narcotics Anonymous program, I knew that this was the place that I needed to be. I knew that this was the caboose on that train of life. And if I didn't jump on that caboose, man, I was out. I was out. Because I had no clue where I was going or what I was doing with life. And I mean, even today, you know, a number of 24 hours later, sometimes I still have no clue what I'm doing, but I know that I want to stay clean. You know, I know that I want to stay clean. When I came up in here, I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what I believed in. I had no idea what kind of values or morals I had. But I wanted something to believe in. And again, knowing that the only requirement was the desire to stop using, I knew I was in the right place. And I knew that there were people up in here that I could identify with, and that could identify with me. And, you know, I wanted to believe in something, in somebody, and I wanted somebody to believe in me. I didn't know about what, but I wanted somebody to believe in me about something other than I was just a dope fiend. Being that this program is spiritual in nature, you know, I mean, it tells us in the book that the program is written with spiritual principles. In the 12 and 12 are our spiritual principles. And the Narcotics Anonymous program, being that it's a fellowship, we all have kind of different interpretations, which is great that we have a basic text where everything can go right back to basics, because I might interpret one step one way, and Maria might interpret it another way, and Joe might interpret it another way, but as long as we have the basic idea of it, and it's written in our book, and we're doing what we're supposed to do, we're going to get where we want to get. The spiritual principles, the 12 and 12, the steps have helped me to learn who I am, and helped me to learn through all you people who I am. And to be able to deal with a lot of the stuff that life throws at me. When I first came up in here, I was like everybody else. I thought, how can there be a room full of dope fiends sitting around a table, not getting high and smiling, and talking about how they've lost their kids, how they've cracked up their cars, how they've fucked up their lives, and be smiling. I came up in here pissed, and hating everybody, but particularly hating myself. And, when I came up in here, I'm a huggy kind of person, if you didn't notice. and I think a lot of meetings, the hugs kept me coming. The hugs kept me coming because I didn't know how to love myself. And when people told me they would love me until I could love myself, I didn't understand that. And now I know that the newcomer is the most important person. I've known this for a long time, since I was a newcomer. I was made to feel like I was important when I first came around. Like I had something to offer somebody, even though I had no clue that I had no clue. And our main goal in the Narcotics Anonymous program, learning the 12 and 12, learning who we are, is carrying the message to the newcomer, carrying the message to the addict who still suffers, and that message being that any addict, can stop using drugs, and any addict can lose the desire to use and find a new way to live through the Narcotics Anonymous program. The Narcotics Anonymous program is what has given me hope when I was hopeless. Because that's what we find up in here, is hope through the 12 and 12. I was reading this yesterday, and I thought, man, I would have liked to just read what is the Narcotics Anonymous program, and I thought, I can't just get up there and read that. I need to share my experience and my strength and my hope, and that is what the Narcotics Anonymous program is based on all of our collective experiences, and whatever we think we've done that might be embarrassing, shameful, hurtful, somebody else has done it. Somebody else has gone through it, somebody else is gonna go through it, and I know that God has put some people in my life that have gone through things that happened to me that have helped me deal with it, that have helped me get out of that pity pot, quit having that pity party 24/7. I still have pity parties occasionally, but they don't last all day, every day like they used to. And when we can learn about the nature of addiction, how it affected us, and how to get the hell out of it, even though I know I'm an addict, I know it's going to be with me 24/7 the rest of my life. I know that I have the tools. The basic text to the Narcotics Anonymous program is my basic tool, and all you people are tools in my life. Like I said, I ramble, and I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. What is the Narcotics Anonymous program? It's really simple. The Narcotics Anonymous program is really simple. Whenever I read anything, I get something totally different out of it. I don't know about anybody else, but I can read a sentence one day and then read it 3 days later and I get something totally different out of it. The Narcotics Anonymous program is where newcomers can find hope and old timers can find newcomers, and where we can share that message, through our strengths, hopes, and experience. I had the best meeting last night with one other addict that I've had all weekend. And, I know that newcomers need old-timers to be there, but we need you guys too. We need the newer member, because I know dope is still out there kicking people's asses, taking names and killing motherfuckers, pardon my language, but, I need newcomers around, and I see so many people that get some clean time and then quit coming, and I know just for me that if I don't hang out and see it happening to people and see new people coming in, see old timers come back in that fell off that I might go back out, but I know that having a program in my life, following it to the best of my ability, that it will save my life, that it's been saving my life, and it can save your life too. This program, like I was saying about love, man, when I came in here, I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't even know how to like myself. And people told me they would love me till I loved myself and love me unconditionally. And we're going to have personality clashes, and, gee, I'm not going to like you because you're wearing a blue hat, and stuff like that. Stuff like that, and have personality clashes, or, have little fallouts, but that doesn't mean we can't love each other, and again, because we have that common bond. And today that I know that because all you guys love me when I didn't love myself, that I can love myself and love somebody else back. And that's an awesome thing. I just want everybody to know that it doesn't matter if you got a day clean, an hour clean, 25 years clean, that we all got today. We're all newcomers, in one area or another, And this program is from the get-go. Remember to identify and not compare people, because something's going on in your life, but that doesn't mean they're not going to happen. And I always tell people, if you hear something and can't use it, either store it. If you can't remember it, you're going to hear it again. But to identify and not compare, because just because somebody hasn't lived in an abandoned house doesn't mean it couldn't happen to you. This program is a way of life. The Narcotics Anonymous program is a way of life. They tell us in the book that when we came up in here, we needed a complete personality change. And that doesn't mean just change one or two things. It doesn't mean just quit using drugs and you're going to be okay because you're out there, doing drive-bys. That you need a complete personality change. We come up in here recovering from a lot of things. I don't know one addict that's not a recovering liar. I don't know one addict that's not a recovering thief. And just because you might not have done it to everybody, somebody's stolen something from somebody. They tell us we can only keep what we have by giving it away. And whether that's your time, whether that's picking people up for meetings, whether it's giving somebody a few bucks, whether it's sitting down one-on-one, whether it's just smiling at somebody and hugging them, it can make somebody's day. It can keep them clean for another minute. I know that I have had a few moments here and there where I thought nobody gave a damn, and that's my head talking to me, and and thinking, God, I don't really want to call anybody because I don't feel like talking to anybody. I'm boring today. I don't like me, so nobody else is going to like me. And all of a sudden, my phone will ring, this is a God-sent program, and I know it's a spiritual, not religious program, but it's a God-sent program. If you don't have a higher power up in here, get you one. When I first came up in here, my higher power was the group. People were staying clean. I was believing them. And the thing is, you got to come up in here wanting to believe something, and I believed it when people told me they were clean. I believed that if it worked for you, it'll work for me. I believed that, and 12 and a half years later, I still keep coming. This program's real simple. Again, it's a spiritual program written so simply that any addict can follow it in their daily lives. If you don't pick up the first one, we don't ever have to use again, no matter what. We can go through some shit around here. I've been through being jobless. I've been through being homeless. I've been through being penniless. I've been through my boyfriend dying the first year I was here. My boyfriend had died 3 months earlier, and that girl last night, when she was sharing, it's like my whole heart was going. I was crying last night, because she was sharing about stuff, and I could just totally identify it, and I did not feel the necessity to go back out and use. I know today that with the help of the Narcotics Anonymous program, and particularly with the help of people that are working the 12 and 12, that I can go through anything clean, because I know that drugs are not going to solve any of my problems. Whatever little problems I might ever have are only going to intensify and magnify. The Narcotics Anonymous program is definitely simple, a day at a time, a moment at a time, a person at a time. Again, we have 1 million friends out there we don't even know yet. I've been to meetings in like 7 states and Canada, and meetings are meetings, and I know that there's been some people that have gone out of town to conventions, to different countries to conventions, and I just thank God that we can all identify at least one thing about somebody else, because I know you had a drug problem, and I know you had a drug problem, and you know what, you don't look like a dope fiend, but I know you had a drug problem, and you really don't look like a dope fiend, but but I know you were a dope fiend, and again, it doesn't matter whether you have a day clean or 25 years clean. Keep loving each other, keep coming, don't use no matter what. If you decide to fall off, that's your choice, because once you've been introduced to the Narcotics Anonymous program, it becomes a choice. If you decide to go back out, you decided to go back out. Nobody twisted your arm, nobody forced you, but God willing, if you put it down, get your butt back in here, dust it off, sit down, shut up, and listen. And work the 12 and 12, and that's all I got. That's the Narcotics Anonymous program. Thanks. Love
you. Thanks, Vicki, for sharing. I appreciate that. Our next speaker is Hal from South Shore, Indiana.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna.
Can you scoot it up a little bit?
Yeah, probably. That's the easy one, Doug. That's gonna be easy. What she said.
Ditto, thank you very much.
That's it. My name's Hal. I'm a recovering addict.
Hi, Hal.
And I'll start with what's in the book. I know when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, I didn't feel like I fit. I didn't understand much, and I know today that we all have a common problem, and we're all working for a common solution, which is what happens in the room with the fellowshipping in Narcotics Anonymous. And probably the most important thing for me was when I finally realized that the other part of Narcotics Anonymous was working the steps in the book and sharing that with other addicts, and that was something I'd never experienced. You know, it was always my life before I came to Narcotics Anonymous was a lie. You know, it was lying to people, being somebody who I wasn't, always trying to put on a face of somebody else. I figured if you knew who I was, you wouldn't like me, you wouldn't want to be around me, and that was the way I had lived my life, and it was kind of frightening. I remember at my first meeting, somebody said, "Well, all you got to do is change everything."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no. I found people that were able to love me at meetings. They told me the first meeting, they told me to keep coming back, and I thought that was they just don't know who they're talking to. People that had known me for years, all my life, had been telling me not to come back, and so it was something really different. As I started working the steps, I started to learn who I was. I started to learn what this program was about, and started being able to be myself, and like that. You know, it doesn't really matter what other people think or say. You know, if I don't like myself, nobody else is going to like me either. The biggest thing that I found was, since I came to this fellowship, by using these steps and using the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, I haven't had to pick up through the death of family members, illnesses of my own illnesses, and dog dying. I think that that was probably the worst one. And they, you know, I was able to keep coming back without having to pick up. You know, the biggest thing that I have found is the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous is another way of life. You know, it's one thing to be able to come into the rooms, you know, and for an hour hug everybody and love everybody, and because you know you're going to be gone, and even the ones you don't like, you can like slip out of there after an hour and you don't have to worry about it. But if I can take that home and be that way with my kids, if I can exercise the principles of this program at work, that's a lot. You know, that starts taking up the time, you know, and it's so much easier, you know, to tell the truth. God, I can remember trying to keep track of the lies. That's the hard part. You know, what did I tell this one? You know, and since I've been here, you know, and people on the outside, they don't really know how to take you. You know, you tell them the truth, and they're looking at you like, why in the hell did you tell me that? You know, that's, well, you know, then I don't have to tell you something else. But this program's gotten me through a lot of hard times. I've learned that I don't have to pick up. If I keep going to meetings, I can keep this fresh in my mind. I know when I was invited here, I thought I was going to be doing the one, the old time complacency. The old timer, you know, I got a lot to say about that, you know, it's like, but with this program, and as you practice the program in your life, you know, it's like things start happening, and you have more things to do, and you can't, at least for myself, a lot of times I can't squeeze out enough time to do those things, be responsible, and hold up my end of the rest of my life, and just run the meetings whenever I want to. You know, so I try to make the meetings I go to, I try to listen. That's what I got to do. I got to listen. It's a wonderful way of life. You know, there's so many things that I've done that I would have never done if I'd stayed out there using. I can go places and not have to worry about, do I have enough dope to make it there and back? I can go places and go to meetings. It's part of whenever I go on vacation. That's part of my vacation. Is to make meetings in other states and meet new people. And I don't know. My life has changed so much since I've found this fellowship and started practicing these principles in my life. It's something I never would have dreamed of. I can remember him telling me when I came into the program, you know, don't make any decisions on what you're going to get out of this, because you'll be selling yourself short, and that was really true. I've been able to be there for some of my family, whether they were there for me before that or not. It doesn't really matter. You know, I can do that today. You know, I listened to the lady last night, and I sat with my father when he died, and I'm now taking care of my mom. You know, and it's like this. I never thought I'd be doing that. You know, it's I was the one that was thrown out of the house, and now they didn't want me around. You know, and it gives me a chance to do something back for them, because I got the feeling I put them through a lot of hell, and they didn't deserve that. No matter what they did, it was a cycle that I'm real grateful that I've had the opportunity to start breaking some of those chains. I don't have to do the same things to my kids that were done to me. You know, it's not necessary, and that's I don't know. It's a beautiful way of life, and I think that's all I got. A bleep. That's all, folks.
Thanks, Al, for sharing. Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you wish not to be taped, please let me know so that the tape can be turned off. I don't have to say the taper. Also, this is a large group, and could we be just respectful and mindful that if we're sharing, you know, to try to limit it so that if other people want to get a chance to share, that they can come up as well. Okay? The floor is now open.
I'll do it. I've never done this before in my life.
It's your turn.
Yeah, my turn. Here I am. All right. I want you to vote for me. No. I got 127 days clean. I've been in and out of Narcotics Anonymous for 20. Rick. My name's Rick, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Rick.
Dope fiend, everything. Anyway, I don't know, what am I supposed to say? I've been in and out of this program for 20 to 30 years. I just tiptoed through it, nudge from the judge, this and that, you know. I just finished my first step, and what really hit me strong about that was they had a thing on it. I admitted I was an addict for all my life. You know, I knew I was an addict. I never accepted it, and now I'm accepting it, and I'm giving this program 100% because I need to. It's getting late in life now. I wish I would have done this younger, but I didn't have the sense then. I'm hard-headed, and you know, it's just the way I am. But better late than never, I guess. And 127 days. Is that on tape? And I don't know. It's out of the 127 days is the longest I've been clean in 4 years this time, and it's different this time because I want the program. Before I never wanted it, and I want it this time. You gotta accept it. You gotta want it wholeheartedly. Before I never wanted it. I mean, I wanted it for all the wrong reasons. And this time I want it for myself. And it's changed my life quite a bit. I mean, I'm taking baby steps now. It's no big deal. I mean, it's just one day at a time. Everything is one day at a time. Jobs, the whole 9 yards. main reason I got into it this time was I had given the drug dealer my mom's new car again. She was going crazy. You know, she didn't understand it. She says, it's a cop-out, it's a cop-out. But it's not a cop-out. I'm addicted, I try to tell her. But she don't understand it, which I mean, this is not her fault. Nobody in my family, I'm the only one who was a black sheep. Everybody else was, you know, nobody was addicted. I'm the only idiot. But, you know, I was just as smart as the rest of them. I just didn't care. I wanted to get high. But ever since I've been 13, I've been wanting to get high. And, you know, like, I was just talking with another addict, you know, you make up excuses, and that, my only excuse really deep down is you want to get high again. You got reservations, you say, it's this, it's that. The real thing is you want to get high again. That's all it is. It's the number one thing. I mean, you know, there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, you can make all the excuses in the world, but the bottom reason is you want to do it again. That's why. You think it'll be better the next time out. And it ain't no better the next time out. I've been homeless. I got out of jail, and this has been, 20 years ago. I went to California, you know. People, places, and things. I went out there. I had no intention of staying clean out there, and then I went to for Vietnam vets. I went to a halfway house for 18 months, and I got clean there, and I stayed at the house. I only had to do 6 months from the judge, from the court, because I had 4 DUIs in 4 months. And anyway, yeah, I didn't hurt nobody. I stayed there for 18 months. I stayed clean, and I stayed clean another 2 years. And I started messing around with a girl, and she was a codeine freak, and so I started using drugs. I'd always used drugs, but alcohol was my main thing. It made me a monster. Alcohol did. Drugs made me stuck on stupid. You know, I felt the difference. The drugs made me better. I thought I'd get high, and I wasn't violent no more, you know. And I thought that was it. But it kicked me to the curb real quick. I mean, anybody that's making 40 grand a year and is eating at a soup kitchen, I mean, there's something wrong there, you know. And that's the way it's been up until now. And this time I'm giving my 110%. I'm here. Like my sponsor says, he's a lifer, and that's the way I want to be. And that's all I got.
I'm going to call Don.
Hi, Don.
First of all, I thought this was a step meeting because there wasn't very many people here. And, you know, I generally, when I go to a convention, I can tell by looking at the attendance what it is. If they're, like, stacked out into the hall, I figure it's a relationship workshop unless Hope Wilson's giving it. And I'm going to be as brief as I can be. First of all, I'm an NA fanatic. I love Narcotics Anonymous with my whole heart. And if somebody comes up to me and says, "What is NA?" the first thing I tell them is it ain't none of those other things. None of them. NA ain't like nothing else. It ain't the bastard stepchild of nothing. It's a place where people can go that didn't have a place to go to, that the rest of the world had given up on. Even all them other places that people come here and try to pretend this is that. And there's this thing I want to share with you. Last night I came back after the meeting, and I don't know why, because today I feel like to be responsible I need to clean my house, and since I've been driving back and forth here, my house looks like I'm using. My sink was full of dishes and stuff was scattered from one end to the other, and that sort of creates feelings in me, you know. And I came back up here, and I was asking about a friend that I hadn't seen for a while. And somebody said, "Well, they're back out." And I was standing there, and I said, "Well, I'm not sure how I feel about that." Because I was processing some feelings. I love this person. Okay? All right. So they showed up last night, and then I knew why I postponed the house cleaning again and came back. And we were in the chapel, and they said, if you weren't here tonight, I wouldn't have thought there was anybody here who cared about me. And folks, you're going to say that's not rational, but I know because I went through it. And if you've never relapsed, thank God there's people like me who are going to be here when you come back. Because I'll put my arms around you and tell you I understand. And I understand the ego shit about what you was and what you thought you were and what you really are. And I told this person, I said, well, I don't share this stuff a lot with people because the way that we are is that my first grand sponsor relapsed. And this person was very active in NA on a world level. And when I found out that they were using, I went, I'll never be able to do it. I'll never be able to stay clean. Bullshit. You know, and I called their spouse. And I said, well, what's up, man? And they said, they're using. I said, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, Don. I can't go out there and exert power over their addiction. I'm taking care of the kids, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do for me, and I'm praying. And that was a big secret for me in NA for a long time. I carried that secret. That became one of those new ones, you know. And so I was talking to my friend about another friend of ours. See, you don't ever get exempt. You're always eligible for relapse. There's no exemptions here. And they also worked at WSO, double-digit clean time. And I told him, I said, well, how do you think? Because they're saying, you know, nobody gives a shit about me. Look, what they're going to say is, after all them fucking years, I said, what they're going to say is you're a fucking addict. That's what they better say. And he said, well, that makes me feel better to know that someone else did the same thing that I did. And I said, we all do that. The only key tag that I will promote to anybody is the white one. Learn what it says on the white one. Them other ones, I have not experienced in 15 fucking years. I don't believe that shit. At 30 days clean, clean and serene, excuse me, clean and crazy.
Okay, good. Come on. Crazy.
1 year clean.
Crazy.
Clean and serene. No, clean and miserable. 2 years clean. Oh wow, I get a black one. Elegant black, because I keep coming back. Clean and serene? No, clean and confused. So I was sitting here and I'm like, how can I say something to my friends so they don't leave here and kill themselves? I had a dream about having a convention. Y'all are sitting in my dream. You're sitting in my dream. Because the people that I met, the people who believed in this program, taught me that when you got the willingness to take the action and do it, right off the rip, I was homesick for West Virginia. There's a convention in West Virginia, it's called True Colors. This is modeled after that. I was homesick. I wanted to be with the people who loved me, the people who gave me hope. So I went and got an addict who had a lot of clean time for this area. And people were scared of him because he didn't take no shit. And I said, let's have a convention here. Everybody. We can't do that. You can't do that. Why not? Because y'all ain't never done nothing but have a picnic. Same deal. You want to have a convention? Same deal. Get some people together that are willing to do the footwork and have a convention. Tell yourself that you're having a picnic, but you know,
Just for today.
but it's the same deal. And I sat in meetings with a friend of mine whose story is in the back of the basic text. Trying to get clean. Why? Why does, after we've been here for a while and we've done some shit, it makes it harder for us to come back than someone who came and got an orange key tag and left? And people say, well, why do people leave and not come back? Some people get fed up with the dumb shit.
Oh.
You know? When I got a certain amount of sanity in my life, I don't have fucking room for your crazy shit. I will tolerate it in a meeting. Period. I will not ask you to come over to my fucking house. And I will not ask you to let me be part of your fucking insanity.
Right.
But why do some people leave and not come back? They get tired of the dumb shit. You know? Well, let's guilt trip them. Don't work with addicts, people. Let's shame them. It don't work.
They're already there.
All you're going to do is let them know that they're for sure on the right track. So anyhow, I'm talking to my friend and I'm scared, you know, because they're saying that all that they want to do is leave and get loaded. And I understand today, like I shared yesterday, and I have a tendency to piss people off, because I'm going to tell you something. If you're working a first step in your life, there is no way you're going to think you have power over someone else's addiction. And I don't go around trying to get people clean. I was told real early on that they would get me high quicker than I would get them clean. And all them things that it said before we got here that we tried, I don't promote that shit in meetings. I promote 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous that I believe are different than any of the others. I don't go into a meeting and share with people that I'm going to therapy, because I am not paying someone to teach me to have acceptance of my past. That's in the steps. But if I told my sponsor, I said, you want to see how gullible people are? I said, I will walk in this meeting and tell everybody that I have found a great, wonderful new way of living through tarot cards, and in 3 fucking weeks, everybody will have a deck. He said, don't do it. I use the basic text. I love NA. There is no other fellowship for me. There's no place I fit in. I fit in here. I don't play that different kinds of addicts or specialty meetings. My basic text don't talk that shit. I've went to meetings where I was totally different physically than everyone else. I've went to meetings where everybody there had a different sexual preference than I did. And I didn't give a shit. And if somebody ever told me that I couldn't go to a meeting, I'd straighten their ass out fast. So I was wanting to share this stuff because I believe that my addiction kills. I stopped people pleasing when one of my sponsees died. I became a real prick. I stopped saying, okay, maybe. Yeah, I guess. Maybe that shit that you're doing, sneaking around on your wife, won't create shame and guilt in your life, and you won't get high behind it. Maybe. You're a big boy. You can handle it. I need your acceptance so bad, I'll lie to you. When he died, I made a decision that I wasn't playing that shit no more. I don't do it with newcomers. I don't do it with my friends. And I want to ask you, if you see anyone here today that looks like they need a hug, I ain't breaking nobody's anonymity. If you see someone that just looks like they need a hug, give them one, you know, and trust me. I wish there was 1,000 people here, because I got some questions I need answered. How many people came here to get married? To NA? How many people came to NA to get a better job? How many people came to NA to learn how to go to school? How many people came to NA to be a better parent? I came about drugs. And people get real pissed off at me. Now, I shared last night, I came to my first meeting in this state and I shared that my sponsor was a woman, and a female jumped up and ripped my ass. And I said, what are you doing? And they're like, men, women, women, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Do you got sponsor? Nope. Oh, well, do you work steps? If you're your sponsor, I've been told you're nuts, and you got a nut for a sponsor. My grand sponsor that went back out was a female. Her sponsor helped write the majority of that. She helped write a lot of it. A lot of the workshops were in her fucking living room. That book under that chair. He became my sponsor, and this was the first place I ever seen that phone list shit. Is that the principle of trust? Or is that addiction? Is that control? Is that someone that has a having sex? How many people came to NA to stop dating? I have some friends in this program who were in this program and the only thing there was the readings. And they're still clean today. And they got clean on the readings. And there's one reading that the whole program is in the reading. It's called How It Works. And there's no mention about nothing about no years or this or that or none of that other funny dumb shit that you hear. Okay? If you read that, you'll get a grip about this program. And I think sometimes women are good teachers. I can tell you why it's not cool for males and females to sponsor each other. It's because of confusion. But working steps, you can have a female sponsor, be a female, and if your sponsor has no experience, you're fucked. You're fucked. And when someone's trying to run your life, both of you are fucked. You know, you're both fucked. So I'm gonna get down off the thing here. But I don't get my recovery no place but Narcotics Anonymous. I don't believe in nothing but Narcotics Anonymous. And the reason that I'm busting happy about that acceptance, I was telling my friend last night that when he has the level of acceptance, the solution will be evident. And that he got double digits of clean time through believing. And if you stop believing, you got what you had when you got here.
The floor is still open. Is it? Sharon? Yes.
I'm Julia. I'm an addict.
Hi, Julia.
Oh, finally. I've been dying to come up here and talk. Not really. I've been scared to death to do it. But I need to. This is What is the NA workshop? What is the NA program? We're at a workshop, right? Phew, I'm nervous. Haven't talked in a long time anywhere. So, what is the NA program? I don't like, first of all, I don't think of it as a program. I think that word's gotten a sort of a bad rap. To me, it's a fellowship. That just sounds better. But you know, I wanted to talk at that other workshop, the one on complacency. So I'm just going to talk about that a little bit. I was talking with some addicts. I think it was yesterday we were talking about it. I thought I had missed a couple of these, and I only missed one. I had almost 10 years clean, and I guess that's a good word for complacency, you know. That, I guess, sums it up. Not going to meetings. I think I'll sit down. Then I can't see y'all. You know, knowing everything, going to the meetings and just getting bored, saying I've heard all this crap before. This is stale. y'all are stale. And I got real sick. When I first got to NA, in '89, I immersed myself in the program completely, with the service work, because I had to. Because I was scared not to. And I did that for about 9 years. I stayed immersed. Had a home group I went to, probably 8, 9 of those years. But like I said, I got real sick inside, and I quit sharing from my heart. I had some real significant losses. I didn't use over them at the time, but it's like the stuff built up, I don't know, I felt like I had a real need to come up here and talk. But now I thought, well, I didn't think. When I got here, I listened to Kathy. She's my best friend and my sponsor that saved my life 4 years ago. I got 4 years now. Literally saved my life. Scraped me up and put me in the hospital this last time out after them years clean. I heard her say how she was grateful, for working and having the jobs that she's got, the 2 jobs she's got. I happened to work with Kathy in both them jobs. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even have those jobs. So she kind of like, she's been a really good friend as well as a good sponsor, But she was great. I heard her say she was grateful that she could do that. She could go to work and make the money and feed her kids and pay the bills. And all I've been doing is bitching constantly, just pissing and for quite a while now. So I'm glad I'm here, so I'm trying to turn that around. Because that's what started the downslide. I was no longer grateful for nothing. I think that's probably the first sign of complacency. Yeah. Yeah, I earned my seat, but then the seat became worthless to me. Didn't mean anything. And I got there, and it got real ugly. So, thank God I'm back. Thanks to all of you for putting up with me. And, well, I'm glad I came up here and shared a little bit. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is John. I'm an addict. Wow. I always, what is the NA program? When I got here, the most impressive thing that anybody said to me that really stuck with me was, what do you want to do about your problem and how can we help? And it gets to me that I go to so many meetings where the only people talking about their problems are the people with limited amount of clean time. And I start to feel like, people tell me, you're not unique. But then I'm thinking, God, I've got a little bit of time here and I've still got some problems. And it's so, but there aren't any other people with clean time talking about their problems. So am I the only one? Am I unique, And I realize that there's a certain amount of time that I can spend at a meeting talking about my problems, and that I also have to add a certain amount of hope, and that I have a dual responsibility that was passed down to me from the guys that have been around for a long time, to show that it is possible to be clean an extended period of time, live life, suffer things that life puts in front of us and stay clean. And in doing that, I get to share the hope, you know. And so many times I come to things like this, and it's not about what I want to do about my problems, you know, and how you can help. And I've had sponsees that come up to me, and they and our literature discusses this. I've got sponsees that are messed up, man, and there isn't anything in our literature about how to help them, and there's times that I get to a place where I have to say, you know what, buddy, you're going to have to check with someone else. I don't have the tools needed to deal with the stuff that you're going through. Something struck me. Yesterday I spoke on a workshop up here, and I did talk about the fact that I had gone through therapy over the period last year. And I did voice ahead of time that it was an outside issue. But it was me sharing about it was getting to a point that I needed to make about the process that I had been in that was all about recovery. It was about hitting bottom without using it, with years clean, you know. And about being in that spot that you know, our newcomers come in, man, and you can see the pain in their face. You can see and you can feel, if you're paying attention, you can see and you can feel the hurt and the emotion and the fear. And it is absolutely no different than having, you know, multiple years clean. It's no different. Yeah. Fear is fear, whether you've got a day clean or whether you've got 20 years clean. And what is Narcotics Anonymous? It is a lifesaver to me. It is the one place I've been able to go where, even on the bad days when I can sit in a room like this and feel all alone, and walk around out here and feel like nobody loves me, I still have that glimmer of hope, because I've heard Hal say before, I've had days where I felt all alone, and it got better. I've heard Julia say, when I was down and out and couldn't find anybody else to love me, Kathy still loved me. And when I got back to this fellowship after my relapse, and I wanted my sponsor to look at me and say, you screwed up, didn't you? He was the one person in my life, you know, my wife couldn't deal with it, my parents couldn't deal with it. He was the one person in my life that wrapped his arms around me, gave me a hug, and said, welcome home. That was it. That was his only expectation, was, you know, or his only, that was it. So, I got to keep coming back. Thanks for letting me be here.
My name is Neil, and I'm an addict. Hi. Those of you who know me know that I'm a busy addict. I chase kids around constantly, and you know, I needed to get up here and share because I've made a lot of workshops or meetings, and but you know, it's okay. It's my responsibility. It's who I am. I'm the dad, you know, and there's three people who depend on me, and I don't have a problem being here today.
Love you, Neil. I love you too. You know, I want to say, you know, damn, why can't I just go and be an addict and go to these meetings and hang out?
But thank God I've got some recovery through the grace of God and my sponsor. And I know that it's all right. And I truly enjoy just being here in the spirit that's alive in this fellowship. It's an incredible program. What is Narcotics Anonymous? It is a thing that 9 months ago pulled me up out of a pile of just a mess. Brought me in and showed me that there was hope, that I didn't have to use. Any addict can stop using. Lose the desire to use and find a new way to live. Thank God. And I really just needed to get up here and say that I love you all. And this thing's turned me into a wonderful father, a good friend to many, but more importantly, somebody who I can like and I can live with without having to find something to put in me or something to use to survive, that I am okay. And you know, when I was at my bottom, I was not okay. You know, I am the miracle, and I stay real grateful for that. And I thank God for the willingness to work the steps and to stay and to do service and to share, because that's what keeps me where I need to be. You know, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to be the father and to share my recovery with my children and to be there for them and for myself. You know, I have to balance that, and you know, I've come to the realization, being here, that it's all right that I have to be out here from one end of this camp to the other, most of the time looking for one kid or another, you know, but they're having a ball, I'm having a ball. I'm just glad to be alive and clean. Thank you.
My name's Bob. I'm a grateful recovering addict.
Hey, Bob.
Sometimes. And sometimes I'm not. What is the NA program? For me, it's a set of principles that taught me how to live, because when I got here, I didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue. And sometimes today, I still don't have a clue. But I keep coming because I see people who do have a clue. And that gives me the hope that I need, that I can make it another day without picking up. You see, I was that biker heathen that your mom warned you about. I took what was mine and what was yours and didn't give a fat rat's ass about you for 30 years. And for me not to pick up is abnormal, just like it is for you. So I'm no different. I'm not unique. I'm not special. I'm just an addict trying to learn how to live one day at a time without using. You see, where I come from down at Gratiot and McClellan, you just don't go up to your club brother and say, I'm feeling a little insecure today. You know what I mean? Because they have a cure for that down there. But I can't use that cure anymore. You see, that cure almost killed me. You know, and learning how to live clean, for me, has been a struggle. Because when you do something for 31 years, it becomes a habit. And they're hard to break. You know, I came around here out of a treatment center like many of us do. And I just want to learn how to use successfully. Because I was a failure. You know, I wanted to learn how to use like a couple of my club brothers who could have a couple beers and a couple lines and go home. See, that's not me. See, my drug of choice is more. Whatever I have and whatever you have, and we're going to do yours first. I found out after coming around here that there is no such thing as a successful addict. You know, all I have is a daily reprieve based on my spiritual condition. And you know, that spirituality, that was a tough pill to swallow. Because I thought I was God, and I thought all you motherfuckers were on this planet to serve me. All right? And excuse my French, but that's the way I came in here, talking and thinking. You know what I mean? And it took a long time for me to be able to accept the fact that there was something out there that was loving and caring that could do for me what I couldn't do for myself. Okay. You know? It took a long time. But slowly the miracles started happening in my life. You know, I couldn't put my finger on it, but my life was getting better in spite of me. And I think it had something to do with going to those meetings. You know what I mean? I was down in Florida in February, and I was able to do an open talk down there and for a friend of mine. And I spent 10 days just cruising around the state on my bike going and hitting different meetings. Because I like to go to different places and see how they do it. And the first meeting I was at, you know, it's not all the same as it is in Indiana. You know what I mean? And it's not all the same as it is in Detroit. The first meeting I went to on Sunday night down there in Ocala, Florida, there was a gentleman sitting next to me, and I'm not going to break his anonymity, but his name's White Bear. Everybody knows him down there, and he's got a substantial amount of clean time for that area. And this young lady was sharing about how she just came back for the 47th time, and how she'd been up for 2 days, and blah, blah, and she was puking all over the table. And as soon as she stopped to take a breath, he said, "Thank you, Lisa, that's enough." I was like, oh my God, you don't do that in Detroit. You can share about your dog and your cat and everything else. You know what I mean? But down there, he said, "I didn't come here to listen to somebody tell me how to use. We all know how to do that. Why don't you tell me how to recover? And if you don't have any recovery, why don't you shut up and listen?" And it took me by surprise, all right, because I wasn't used to that type of abruptness. But you know what? It's good to see that. It's refreshing to go somewhere to see them do it differently. Because I can go to a table in Detroit, and you know, there are no time limits up there. You know what I mean? You might as well bring a sleeping bag. And that's okay. You can share about whatever you want. It's the program, not my program.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, I've learned a little patience and tolerance sometimes. I was at a spiritual retreat up in Higgins Lake last week. Good sharing shit up there, man. This guy said, "You know what? If you show me the chart, all right, that says I'm supposed to act this way at 6 years, I'll kiss your ass." Because there ain't no chart out there. The book don't tell me that, you know what, just because I have 6 years clean, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And it made sense, all right? Because we're different, all right? We're really different, because you know why? I left all that spirituality up there. I came back Monday and socked somebody right in the meeting. I'm not proud of it. I'm ashamed of it. But you know what? There's some character defects in here that are going to take a long time to work on. And I come up here and be honest with you and tell you about it. I'm not proud of it. You know, I'll probably end up dying with some of them. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to come in here. I didn't come in here to be intimidated, all right, or to be made a fool of. You know what I mean? There's still some character defects in here that I'm probably going to take to the grave with me. You know what I mean? Down there at Gratiot McClellan, you know what I mean? You just don't let people walk on you. I'm not a doormat, and I didn't come in here to be a doormat. I came in here to quit using. All right? This other stuff, I guess it'll come when it's supposed to. You know what I mean? If it comes. It may not come. You know, because I see some people that have a lot more clean time than I do, who, I'm not judging them, but I have to look at them and say, I really don't want to be like that. I really don't. I don't want to go to the casino. You know what I mean? I don't want to replace my drugs with sex. All right? I don't want to replace my drugs with money or power. You know what I mean? I don't want to get a big gavel up here and start telling you people how to do things. Sometimes I do. You know, that's my disease. It has a contract on my ass. It wants to kill me. And it may not be through the dope. You know, it may be through a relationship. Because at 4.5 years clean, I almost stuck a gun in my mouth because I got rejected. You know, I know that's hard to believe. But for the first 3.5 years of my recovery, I had this good-looking girl on my arm. And you know what? I didn't look at me. I was too busy looking at her. I didn't work the steps because I was telling her how to work hers. All right? If we're going to get honest around here. And then when she said, you know what? He looks just a little bit better. Man, I was crushed. Didn't know how to handle it, guys. Almost stuck that gun in my mouth. Came to a meeting crying my eyes out because I didn't know how to handle rejection. All right? Didn't want to run, didn't want to use, but didn't know how to handle the pain. And I know there's a God, because when I left that meeting, somebody had shared, what are you doing with guns anyhow, as sick as you are? And he was serious, all right? And we went to the restaurant for some fellowship afterwards, and 5 guys from a different motorcycle club just happened to walk into that restaurant, who I used to sell guns to. Just happened to, you know. It was just coincidence. And I said, you guys still in the business? And they said, yeah. And I said, I got 5 for you. And I sold them that day. And I choose not to have them in the house anymore because I'm still one sick individual. And I don't know how to handle pain sometimes, guys. You know, I want to walk around here with that facade that everything's okay. When inside, I'm just a little insecure little mouse that knows how to run from everything. Don't know how to deal with it. I can run real easy. You know what I mean? I run to a woman, run to the dope house, you know, violence, chaos, anything, so I don't have to look at me. Because that's the real problem. It's that 6 inches in between my ears that says, you know what, you can handle it yourself. And I know today that I can't. I go to a treatment center every Monday night up there outside of Detroit called Sacred Heart. And there's 80 addicts in there who show me that I can't do it myself. They all had the right decisions. That's why they're sitting there. And when I go into the jail on Wednesday night, they all have the right answers too. You know what I mean? But it's good to be able to walk out there and that door closes. You know what I mean? Because I sat in there, and when I was in there, I didn't need to go to meetings because I didn't have a problem. You know what I mean? And when I was in prison, I didn't need that track 1 or track 2 because I didn't have a problem. You know what I mean? I guess we have to go through what we have to go through to get where we're going. I'm just glad that there's a place where I can come to, where I can see people who understand what's going on in this coconut up here when I don't. You know what I mean? I need to see people come up here and share about how it feels to have 10 years and go back out. I need to see that because, you know, I'm terminally unique. I am. Terminally unique. I'm different, you know? Thanks.
We have about 3 minutes. If anybody wants to come up for 3 minutes, if not, we can wrap it up. Come on, Sandy. 3. 3. You need to keep it to 3.
3 minutes? That's all we get?
That's all you can. And you get snowman?
All right, Maria.
If not, we can go.
We don't want 3 minutes, no, right?
2.5.
Oh, man! We got 3 minutes.
I'm Dan and I'm a drug addict.
Okay.
In 2.5 minutes, I'll turn into a pumpkin. Pumpkin drug addict.
Who are you?
Tell your name.
Ben, I'm a drug addict. Oh, there's a microphone in there. Part of why I'm up here is I'm getting terminally unique too, and I see these people up here and they're cool, so I want to be cool. You know, let me in on that. Shoot, I know. At least I know how to do the outside. Maybe the inside will start coming around. And yeah, it's kind of works sometimes, you know. But I always like topics like what is the NA program, because it's one of those Zen questions. You know, it's like you get to answer it, but it ain't the only answer, and everybody's going to have one and all that. And so that's neat because we have then a confront. I get to either share my opinion, oh, I'll tell you what it is, which means what I wish it was, you know, or I can share my experience. Because I only get to experience one lifetime's worth of NA, and look at all these people, you know. And my experience is it's some kind of pool of love, you know, something I can swim in, and some kind of therapy starts going on in me. When I get out, I feel better. And maybe in some years I can tell you some of the how. I don't know so much the how as the what happens. I know that when I start feeling better, because I'm loved, I'm a social creature. Peer pressure will make me use. And so when I'm around people that think I'm all right, and they listen, and you know, and that kind of thing, they seem to want to know me on the inside, I start thinking, well, maybe I need to treat myself all right. You know what I mean? I'm very suggestible. And when I feel good enough, it's just automatic to hug you and to listen to you. You know, what comes around goes around and comes around again and goes around again, and it's a wonderful thing. And it's a beautiful reversal of that. I got mine, but it wasn't enough, and I want yours too. And by the way, who took mine? You know, it's going around out there in the self-centered world. So I start finding that it's kind of a neat paradox in the program for me. It's I can work on me, and that's cool, but I can just love you, and I get better either way. You know, either way I get better. If I focus on the outside in the positive way, in the miracle way, in the God's grace way, like, man, God did a good job with y'all. You know, this is cool. Go God. And I can really be out there admiring y'all. The things inside that I could chatter on about for years, remembering, just aren't in the picture. They dry up. They're gone. They don't matter. You know? And then I look back on the steps and I go, oh man, I did some of that, didn't I? You know? I wasn't even trying, but the principles were coming out because of the love, because of the one addict helping another, one addict showing that we're brothers and sisters in this, you know? That conscious contact between people can be a conscious contact with a higher power. So don't know what NA is, but I know that the pieces of it that I swim in always do me a lot of good. And it's sometimes like I talk about it as the ocean of love. Sometimes it's like the island. It's like that's where I'll crawl up and get out of that stuff too. Anyhow, thanks so much, y'all.